Hi folks, it's Dr. Hudgens. I have read your strategic planning papers and have provided you feedback in the rubric on Blackboard. If your grade is less than you had hoped, please take the time to go in and read the feedback that is provided. In this course, I think this is probably the hardest assignment, even compared to your final paper. Your final paper, I'm asking you, tell me what you think about something and tell me what you've learned. This paper, this strategic planning paper, required you to think about something and analyze it while considering what was similar and what was different from a collected data set. This is higher level thinking, and it requires a bit of skill and a whole lot of time and energy to be able to really analyze what you have read. As I said in my video last week, I had encouraged you to remember that you were not asked to do a literature review. You were asked to compare and contrast major themes that were found in the articles that you found. So go back in and read the feedback that was provided. This is an opportunity to develop some skills. If you read the feedback and you're unclear about where your error was or where the gap in your content was, I want you to contact me and let's work through it so we can be on the same page. One of your peers, Heather, I think did a great job of summing up the role of nurses in strategic planning. She wrote that strong nurse leaders are crucial to the success of strategic planning. Therefore, highly encouraged and support nurses as subject matter experts to be used during the planning and preparation phase of the project. That really does emphasize how important it is that we don't just involve bedside nurses, but also that we have a strong group of leading nurses that can steward that process. Later, she goes on to remind us through Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, that I can do all things through him that strengthens me. And it is such a great reminder for those of us that are in a Christian nursing leadership role that we do not have to rely on our own skills and our own strengths, that we can trust in God to equip the called. And I love the concept of God not just calling those of us that are fully equipped, but that when he calls us to a duty, that he then equips us with the tools and the resources we need. And that would include planning a strategy for an organization. So I appreciate Heather's insights with that. In general APA, some common things that I saw this week were wanting to remind you that when you use any number between 0 and 10, instead of writing the numerical number, you're going to write the word out. So instead of the numerical number 1, you would type O-N-E and spell out that word. I do not know why after 10, the APA gurus decided they didn't care if you wrote the number out, but that's an APA guideline that I want you to be aware and to follow. The other thing, just from a writing strategy or an approach to an assignment, always before you start an assignment, go in and read the rubric in detail. Look and see where the points are allocated. If a section has 10 points and another section has 40 points, understand that the 40 points represents a heavier value of that content within your paper. So if you have 40 points for one section and 10 points for another, then strategically you should spend a greater amount of writing, research, and time on something that has the value of 40 points. That doesn't mean that you toss aside the 10 points and write whatever you want and not support it and not use scholarly approach. But it does mean that you need to balance your efforts in how the rubric is laying out the point value. The other thing to be aware of is I know that several of you are using APA formatting tools. I have no problem with you using tools. I get that it is a time saver. But folks, I want you to remember that the APA formatting tools best skill is reminding you what to put in what box. And this is especially true for your reference list. If you do not know APA formatting, you will miss probably 75% of what is considered APA. It is more than just a reference list. You have to know how to vary in-text citations. You have to know which level heading to use in which place. You have to know professional writing syntax. A formatting tool is only as good as the person using it. So if you are relying on that for APA support, it should not be your only support. make sure you own the APA manual and that you're using it and you familiarized yourself with it. As you prepare to do your annotated bibliography next week, remember that you have a brief paper on power and you have your annotated bibliography. I want you to be thinking through the annotated bibliography and to remember that this bibliography is the starting point to writing your final paper. The sources should be scholarly. They should be less than 5 years old. They should be coming from peer-reviewed journals. And you may use your textbook, but they should not be the lion's share of your resources. You should not use websites. An occasional website to bolster other sources is fine, but the vast majority of sources you use should be from peer-reviewed journals. So I want you to be thoughtful about that as you build the structure for your paper. The annotated bibliography is not a formal paper. You're going to use the general outline for an APA paper, so you'll have a title page, but your annotated bibliography should include a full citation and under it a summary of 50 words or less. Around 50 words should do it, about what that article, how that article is relevant to your final paper, brief summaries. So be thoughtful about how you go through that so that when you go back a couple of weeks from now and you're preparing to write your paper, you'll be able to pull your annotated bibliography and you'll know where to plug in which article in what part of your paper. So again, this is not an exercise in futility. It is a purposeful exercise. So be a good steward of using your time and really think carefully through the articles you're picking so that you don't have to do it again when you get to the end of the course and you have to write that final paper. I think that's about it on my end. Again, as you go through your feedback from this week, if you have questions, you have concerns, if you want to discuss it at all, please know that I'm here. You're not alone in the abyss. I know sometimes it feels that way. I hope you guys are well and have a good week. If there's anything I can do, touch base. Take care.